Now, if you're one of those who are doing the resume by yourself, then there are some things that you need to know before you try to submit that application online. Now, did you know that 90% of the Fortune companies are hiring through online applicant tracking system? That means there's no human who is looking at your resume. What they're doing is they are putting that through the filter system. And if you pass those criteria, there's a percentage attached to it. If you pass that, then you will be landing on hiring manager's table. And hiring manager is going to quickly look at it, like probably 1 to 2 minutes, not even that, just to see if you fall on that criteria and if he wants to interview you, and you are going to get that interview. So there are like a couple of people looking at it before it even lands into the hiring managers. And first thing is the machine. So now, if you're writing a resume by yourself, then even if you're qualified, you're probably not reaching to the right person just because you're not tweaking a resume a little bit. So we've put some checklists when it comes to applicant tracking system, and this list is a high-level list, which is pretty much for those people who are not new into the resume world. That means is they've figured out so many things, but they are stuck when it comes to nitty and gritty things, when it comes to formatting, when it comes to the keywording, when it comes to the totally how to please the machine, but they do know how to write the resume, and maybe they need some kind of boosting or knowledge just to keep them up to date, and these are for that. We would not recommend someone to start doing this if you have no clue about the resume. Do some research, and this is probably a final step for you to come back and see and tweak it a bit, go from there. Now, by no means that this is guaranteed. We work with a client. It depends on the industry. It depends on solely depends on the job descriptions. You know, you still have to go and take a deeper dive when it comes to the resume itself. But this is something that we've created, and maybe it could help you out if you have done everything and you're just stuck in ATS. And try it out and see, and let us know. Give us a feedback. Contact us through teachingdo.com page. Or reach us from social media and give us a feedback, how it worked and was it helpful or not. And subscribe to our channel as well, YouTube channel. So I'm not going to go through everything here. So basically, on high level, there are a lot of tools out there when it comes to ATS, not only the same tool, and obviously it's a resume filter that employers are going to put it through, and it all depends on what are the filters they are putting it through. Not everything works the same way, and we're going to go through it. What are the things that we want to recommend you when you're writing your own resume, and give it a try and see if that works for you. And these are some criteria, key points that we use it ourselves, and it's been working. Our resume has been selected in top companies, in banks, and government, and nonprofit world, and we know that the way that we write it, it works for us when it comes to ATS. And it's not like, 100%, but again, what happens, it works. We know that, and people are getting the interviews, and we know that it works. So basically, the hiring managers are just going to scan the resume for 10 to 20 seconds, and it all depends on the ATS tool. So if ATS tools are going to scan your resume, if you meet the requirement, then it's going to land into recruiters possibly, and from the recruiters, then if they feel like you have some good content out there, good meat, meaning you're matching the job descriptions, you're not fluffing it, then it's going to go to the hiring manager's desk, and hiring manager is going to look at it and grant you that interview. So the first step is, if you're applying online, then you need to be very cautious about what you put in there, and you need to be targeting to please the system itself. So usually, based on our experience, what has happened is if you're getting the rejection email in a couple of days, that means the ATS applicant tracking system has rejected it. But if there's a delay in decisions when you just submitted the resume, that means potentially that had human eye on it, so you know that it's been delayed, which is a good thing. Sometimes delayed if you get the decisions little bit later than what you thought, then it potentially could be a good news for you. And if you get those email after a couple of weeks, then obviously the human eyes have looked at it and you did not meet the requirement. Maybe you fluffed the word, maybe you created the word, and that's exactly why they felt that it was not normal, so they rejected you. Or maybe you're overqualified, or maybe you're underqualified, or someone else actually had good content in there, so that's why you did not get the interview. And you can see right there when you get rejections, or you can see the example of it right there. This is what it is you get, especially like based on our experiences, this is what you get when your human eyes are looking at your resume. And this is what we've come across from major banks and industry. They're looking at it. So now let's jump on. So what about the core content for resumes? So basically you're looking at the headers right there, and profile, core competencies. And when it comes to headers, you want to put the contact information, your name, contact information, city and province, customize LinkedIn URL. And the profile, you want to ensure that you have keywords on that profile. And core competencies, use the bullet and list hard and soft skills and keywords there as well, and maximum 8, or you can go up to 12 if you're in different industry. IT sector, it depends on the industry. Unless there is no experience, then you're gonna have to come up with something at least around here. Like, let's say if you're a student or something like that, then it's probably going to be hard for you to come up something. Then I would probably recommend you put like at least 4 bullets still there, just the four bullets, working on projects, anything that you bring in. So now, these are all the headings that it's a standard headings that ATS is going to go after. And what we say is don't try to create your own funny headings, because ATS is not programmed that way. So use the industry standard and then go from there. So when it comes to educations that I wanted to put it in there is use keyword, and the certifications in there as well would be keywords. So for example, if a certain industry wants certain kind of certificates, don't overlook on it, put it in there on the education sector. And some people, what they do is they tend to put those education and certification on the name as well, but some ATS system would filter that out. So it's best to put those education system around, like the certifications around the education area, right? Education area right there. And technical skills, obviously, if companies are asking, let's say, that they wanted some technical skills, certain tools, certain things that they use it within that sector, then you possibly want to put it right there and use the keywords right there. So these are the optional sections that we don't really put it in there unless it depends on the job descriptions again. So languages, we don't actually put it in there unless there's any requirement on it, like, English language, everyone knows it. You're in Canada, everyone knows it, and you're expected to know that, right? And if it's French, then I would put, like, we recommend you to put the French if the job requirement is French, or you feel like the French is an asset for that job descriptions. Then even though that it's not there, it doesn't hurt you to put that French in there, because it's English and French. Depends on the job type and what they ask. If there's an ask, certainly go ahead and put it in there. Project as well, everything pretty much is no-brainer. Put whatever there. If there's an ask, put it right there. But if there's no ask, there's no point of putting all those optional sections in there. So volunteering really helps out if you are doing exactly the same thing, that it's kind of like related with the job, or community involvement where the company's visions are aligned as well. We recommend you to put that in there. So let's go with the ATS checklist, which is you want to put the margin right there. That's what we go through, and left and right, that's right there. Too much white space is not good either, because it impacts the layout and designs. And that's the reason that we are careful on choosing the margin left and right side, and you want to probably not go more than one, not go more than one right there. And then we recommend you to go font size. We would not recommend you to go less than 10, because it's going to be, even the human eyes later on, you are going to be landing on humans' desk someday. If it goes through, then less than 10 is pretty hard to read, so you want to focus on right there, 10.5 to 12. And then again, the reason that if you don't have a lot of content, we would recommend to go to 12, but if you have a lot of content, then 10.5. So that way you are not using more pages. And then ATS doesn't really care about the length of a resume at all, you know, so you can go whatever you want to, but we tend to stick with a recent grad. We stick with 1 page, and with the professional, if you have more than 4 or 5 years, then 2 page, and then if you're executive, then 3 page. That's why we tend to stick by it. And IT, we've done like over more than 6 pages. And Arial, if you want to go with Arial, then 10.5 is it would add more content, but and then it kind of looks it doesn't look smaller, it kind of looks like Calibri 12 point, so you are safe to use that, and use your judgment when you're using that. So this is really crucial. So some of the so basically ATS does not recognize third-party fonts such as Disney fonts. So we recommend, in order to be safe, use those: Arial, Narrow, Arial, Cambria, Helvetica, Verdana, Calibri, Georgia. And basically what you're trying to say is, what we're trying to do is, we are trying to avoid those fancy fonts. There's no need to go with the fancy fonts. And also, some of the ATS is not compatible with older version of MS Office, so upgrade it to newer version to be safe. And we also actually came across that some of the ATS depends on the filtering as well. So you wanted to, each bullet, just the way that you have a bullet on a resume later on when you do the resume writing, just don't forget to put the period at the end, because apparently ATS stops at full stop. So we tend to focus on that as well. And errors, right? So when it comes to errors, no one likes that errors. And yeah, even if the machine doesn't, let's say machine lets you go through it, then when the human eye comes in, then you want to ensure that you are good at spelling. And we use, Grammarly. We actually use Grammarly for ourselves as well. Grammarly, install that, and it's probably a good idea to install that and start monitoring that spell check. And limit bold and underline, mixed font style, no italic. So mixed font are no, it would throw off ATS system. And again, it depends on how they're set up. So again, we just practice the safe way. So example of mixed font would be capital right there, CAP in cap, and then ITAL in small letters, and no italic as well. We just use the one style. And it's been working out for us. So we also tend to avoid the colors and borders and shades, and if we have to use it, then we'll use it really like this color, grayish or bluish, or lighter shades. That's what we use. And then headers and footers, not all ATS can use. You see verify the information from headers and footers. So a lot of people, what they tend to do is they put their contact information in there. So try to avoid that and completely avoid that and be safe, right? What we do is put your name and the city and province, all those, and then put the underline on it. So it looks like a header, but it's not a header. And obviously avoid the box. And the reason being is when you are putting that box and columns right there, because the ATS reads left to right, then what happens is these one right there, it's going to be going like this right here. That's how the ATS tools are going to read it. And when they look at it, recruiters or hiring managers are looking at it, let's say, because recruiters, they look at the text file, then they see this, and it's kind of like you can't make out, and nobody has a time to go through each and everything, basically, right? So there are thousands of resumes. They want to make it quick, and you don't want to be confusing him and I plus the ATS as well. And usually what we do is when we write our resume, we try to repeat our keywords at least 3 or 4 times. It's not you have to repeat by 4 times, but in order to score higher, we tend to repeat that more and more wherever we could. And ATS job title on your resume, you gotta put title on it, because if you're targeting the title, then ATS is gonna look at the title as well. So we always put the title, target that. And we also recommend you to put keywords throughout the resume, keywords throughout, everywhere, on competencies, area of expertise, and work experience, everywhere. Different keywords can carry actually different weights, right? So watch those must-have skills, and it's an asset, not really must-have. So those they have different weight. And then there are some knockout questions on it, which is must have. And if you answer no to that, then your application would be not even possibly reviewed, and you would be sitting on some other file. So you won't make it to the recruiter. So let's say couple of examples that we have is, do you have a driver's license, right? Do you have 4 years of experience? Are you willing to travel? So if the employers are going to be filtering the candidate out based on that, then those are called knockout questions. So if you don't have it, we don't even recommend you apply for it. So that's why when people are coming to us for resume writing, we always ask, based on the job description, do you match like 80 to 90% or 100% at least? And if they don't, then we push it back and say, well, we can't write it because you don't match it, and we give them assessment on it, why the person shouldn't be applying for that role. And see hyperlinks right there. So we put the hyperlinks sometimes. Some people have a website, some people have URL for LinkedIn, and we do recommend you to put that in there. But ATS thinks that's virus apparently. So the tips that we provide the tips for clients who are writing it, or when we write it, we change the color to black, because the hyperlinks are usually blue. We change it to black, and that has been working for us. No underline as well on hyperlink. So for employment date, right there, if it's less than a year, then put month, because ATS thinks it's 0 otherwise. So if you're working from January of this year to January of, February of this year to December of this year, then you don't want to put 2020 to 2020. You want to put February 2020 to December 2020. So that way the ATS can see that it's not, you can still qualify based on that. Otherwise it would be treated as 0. So what we also recommend is when you are using the online applications, follow the instruction follow the instruction, because some employers, they put absolutely no PDF, some employers say absolutely no doc, right? Like it would give you the format to it. Follow that strictly. Usually there's a reason for it. Although doc right there, the format of when you send the documentations, Word format is okay and PDF is okay as well. Most of them can read it. But if there's a special instruction on it, then follow that instructions. And if there's no instruction at all, then we push it for documents, Word documents, not the PDF. Although it's safe, but we always we wanted to try it safe. And then also square bullets, you want to put the square bullets on it, and bullets and round bullets, not the crazy looking bullets. It interferes. And the best way to check if your bullets are showing up on the plain text or not is to go and save that resume on a plain text, and then see if it ends up with the question mark. So anything you see the question mark when you save it on plain text, that means that that's an error. So you want to change that bullet format. And then the other thing is you want to put the acronyms and spell the word out. For example, if you're applying for AML role, then instead of just saying AML, then you put the full, spell it out as well. So that way you're scoring here as well. You're scoring the point here, and then you're scoring the point here as well. And then you want to put exact job descriptions. That's where people go wrong. So if you see monitor transaction as a requirement, then you don't want to put monitor transactions like not hyphenated, because that's the bolded one exactly the way it is. You want to put the hyphenated as well. Or you don't want to put transaction monitoring like that, right? So you want to put exactly the way that the job description has in order for ATS to scan you. And then the other thing is, what we have noticed is when there's a requirement for a Microsoft Office like that, you want to put exactly the same way, not fully write Microsoft Office or Office like this. You don't want to put it so exactly the way that the job description shows. That's what you want to put in. You don't want to alter the word. And then you can put those Microsoft Office somewhere else on the job description, wherever on your experience as well, if you want to score that extra point. And then what we do is, this is something that some ATS, so when you have those certifications, like let's say PMP and MBA and anything like that, then people tend to put those certifications right there or beside their name. So what we suggest is not to put it in there. So we suggest you to put it on the education or certification sections. The reason being is some version of ATS will read post-nominal titles, and it's kind of like part of candidate's name and causes issues with the system. So you want to add those qualification on education section instead, to be safe, because you're scoring that point anyway. And then use industry jargon as much as you can. If it's on a job description, use it to the fullest. If it says that it's job requirement is you need to have LLB, PMP, AML certifications, anything, use it to the fullest, and then spell it out as well. And so the headers that we're talking about initially, the headers right there, you want to follow the standard headers that ATS is filtering it to. So you don't want to create some headers on your own. And then we limit the pictures, graphs, and charts. Charts and graphs are no-no, and logos and pictures are no-no as well, unless you wanted to go and hand it over to someone, then yeah, go for it, use it. But you want to limit the uses of these symbols as well as much as you can. It doesn't throw off, but some ATS could interfere with this, so try to limit these as much as you could. And last thing you want to do is save your resume. When you are done with the resume, save your resume under plain text. And if you see this and go through it, and if you see the question mark on your text when you're saving it, usually what happens is those symbols are going to be translating into that question mark on it. That means you need to go back and reformat and either remove those symbols that it came back as a question mark, or replace with something else. So let's say what we had, one of the example is we said Bachelor of Commerce, and then we had something else in here, and then what happened was when we saved it, this question mark came in under plain text, so we just went back and changed that. So try to play around a bit. So when it comes to keyword, you can certainly look at the keyword from Carmen.co. So you can go and type in the job title, and then you can see all the hard skills right there, and then you can see the soft skills right here as well. But again, when it comes to resume writing, you're targeting to the job description. So this is something, if you're having issues with the skills and you're not getting enough wording, then you can always go there and then research. And the other thing that we recommend you to do is when you're looking for, when you want to know what are the keywords, it's going to be difficult for you. So what we recommend you to do is go to workhouse.com. and then type in, go to word list and type in, paste, get the job description from, get the job description wherever you're applying that particular one, and then just copy and paste it and then hit apply. And this is the example for AML that we were doing for one of our clients. So, and then everything that comes up on a big one, those are the keyword based on that job description. So larger fund, investigations, the anti-money, laundering. So those are the these were the keywords for that particular job description. That's how you know as well. And if you are still concerned about it, if you are meeting the ATS requirement or not, you can go to jobscan.co and then put job description on one side and then put your sample of resume, and it would spit out the word key, and then it would try to give you the results. It's not, I wouldn't say it's flawless. It's not 100% correct. It's hit or miss sometime, but it gives you an idea to see it if you're new at this. So the sample that we have is we use different kind of samples, and it's not like ongoing sample. We use it differently for different industry. For this, let's say for AML, what happens, like what we do is we put all the keywords here, and then all the competencies right there, keywords, and then those are usually the hard skills right there over here. And then so company names, we put it on top if the companies, it's a big company. So usually it depends on how we do it, but ATS doesn't really care about, what goes first, what goes second. But if for human eye, what happens is some people go with the title first and company at the second. Some, they go with the company first. So this is example of company first, and the example is because the person worked in biggest banks, so we wanted to ensure that it stands out. So it depends on the strategy, but ATS has nothing to do with it. But again, those all highlighted the red ones, when you see, those are all strategy that we put it for ATS to make sure that it lands on, it passes through the ATS system. And so always ensure that you have keywords here, right here, keywords on top, and then you have the job title that person is applying for, and all the keywords that it's based on the job description. It's our hard skills, and over here you can include the soft skills, but then always ensure that you put numbers in there, so that way when human eyes are going to look at it, then they get that you're not fluffing it. You actually did some work. So do not ever lie, but what happens is you have to show your accomplishment and go from there. And because the page doesn't matter, you can go as much as you want to when it comes to ATS. But what happens is when if you've worked more than 10 years, then we just recommend you just stick to 10 years. And the best, if you still want to include that, then include the relevant experience, but not detailed like this. But what you can do is you can just put the company name, job title, and department, and then put the date on it if you want to, or you don't have to put the date on it. It's totally up to you. So if you really want to showcase it. And when you look at these certifications right there, put all the certifications here under education and certifications right there. So ATS can scan the certification around the certification area. And technical skills, again, we recommend you to put it in there if you feel like you add value. And then there's a keyword, then you should put it in there so ATS can score you accordingly. So that's it for now when it comes to ATS. It's a lot to take in, but what you want to do is you can practice and see and let us know if it helped you, if this video helped you at all, and feel free to share our video to other people who can go and do the resume by themselves, and we'd love to hear a feedback from you. Thank you so much for watching.